Preview. Preview.
Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I know bad Twitter takes is a whole. I mean, you could there are channels devoted to nothing but that, and then they get struck and taken down. But bad comic Twitter takes are also there's a big barrel full of them. The one that I've talked about before is the ever seminal Batman. Is wasting his time and money by beating up poor bad guys, and he should just fund social programs instead, which again works. I don't buy that premise, even if we're talking about just regular criminals. But when you're talking about like the Joker and Scarecrow and Killer Croc and so on, I think that theory gets really, really bad really fast. But the other one that I don't see nearly as much, but there's been more and more of it lately. And the only thing I can assume is that it's the success of the Spider-Man movie then gets a bunch of kind of non-comic people, because clearly these takes are from people who do not read the comics, have no real understanding of it, and really just want to make fun of comic people. This is always where, when I see kind of indie comic writers, indie comic artists jumping in on this stuff, I always think to myself, you realize the people who are starting these threads that you're redistributing and kind of jumping on board with, you realize those are the people who will not give you the time of day in any given circumstance because they're too good for you. But regardless, this take, Peter Parker would have been a school shooter. Now, what does that even mean? Like, if you haven't seen that example out there, what is that? What are they talking about? So if you go back and you look at a lot of the original Spider-Man issues, ones with Ditko, Peter is in high school, and Peter is, it's using dialogue like a lot of comics at the time. I mean, as long as we're doing, by the way, the toxic comic takes, does anybody want to go dig into a lot of Reed Richards' early dialogue where Sue is concerned, where he's telling her to kind of shut her mouth and clean the house and bake cookies, and she's good for more than just being easy on the eyes. I mean, this is a scientist. This is a buddy of Fauci saying this to Sue. And why no hot takes of Reed Richards was an abusive husband? I mean, everybody knows that. I have to believe that's got to be coming as soon as somebody starts realizing that these titles are out there. This can also be joined by Superman, all the Superman dick moments toward Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen and everything else. I mean, just the amount of things that can happen there. But we're talking about Peter Parker. So in the early comics, there were a lot of panels where Peter was kind of having to hold back his anger. And the reason behind these panels is that Peter Parker was bullied in school. He was the nerd. He was the glasses wearing bookworm, and he and people like Flash Thompson and others relentlessly bullied the kid. So then he gets powers, and his powers include kind of super agility, super strength. He's got pretty incredible powers. And keep in mind, back in the '60s when this comic was out, you didn't have all this like Omega mutant and this character is more powerful. This character can actually blow up an entire sun. The escalation of powers had not really taken place. So Spider-Man was one of the strongest characters out there. I remember that I wasn't alive then, but I remember looking at some trades. I know. Where it was like they were contemplating if the Thing could beat Spider-Man in a strength contest. And it's like, well, yes, the Thing is stronger than Spider-Man, but Spider-Man's agility would put him on even footing. Now think about that for a moment. The Thing is often paired up with the Hulk. So you're telling me Spider-Man is as powerful as the Hulk? I don't think anybody would go for that today. I don't even think it would be a discussion. But the point is, Spider-Man suddenly has these huge miraculous powers. If Spider-Man wanted to and just flip out and go crazy, he could murder that entire school pretty quickly through a combination of kind of webbing and super strength. So, as Spider-Man goes back to school then, the bullies keep bullying. Spider-Man, Peter Parker is his secret identity, so he's wandering around doing his Peter Parker stuff. and Flash Thompson still being a dick. And so in the comic, they had Ditko draw, kind of this grumbly Spider-Man, grumbly Peter Parker, like, they're bullying me again. And he would say things like, if I was Spider-Man, if I wasn't hiding my identity as Spider-Man, I could just throw him across the school. And it's those panels, and they're not even taken out of context, because you could tell everything you need to know from just a single panel. It's like bullying Spider-Man, Peter Parker, holding himself back because he's got that Uncle Ben lesson, great power comes great responsibility, which means, hey, you can't just use your strength to go destroy all of your enemies. You did this thing in the wrestling ring, and you didn't stop a criminal, led to your uncle's death. This is the responsibility of being a hero, knowing that you could put an end to your bullying, but the bullying itself, these words, are not worth murder. And that's the concept that's being portrayed. It's actually very, very simple. It's nothing more than that. No, Peter Parker is not some evil incel school shooter, but that's how people now translate those scenes. So they translate that way because they have no comprehension for a number of things I just talked about. They have no comprehension for what it means to be a hero. They don't understand the idea behind, the core principle behind, hey, if I have lots of power, I can't just run around punching people. Now, think about it for a moment. If you listen to some of the ideology that's thrown out on Twitter on a regular basis, where there are people who loudly brag that, hey, if you see somebody who you suspect, might listen to Joe Rogan, you're perfectly well within your rights to shoot that person, because they're probably one of the most evil monsters to walk the face on the earth. I've said this before in videos, and Joe Rogan, to me, is always going to be the guy that convinced gullible idiots to eat bugs on Fear Factor. That's when he's been in the news a lot lately, and the first image that comes to my mind is him like goading some girl in a bikini to lay down in a little plastic tank and have cockroaches pour all over her. I'm like, I don't know. It's weird, given all the discussion around that guy, for this to suddenly happen. It would be like if the news started coming out that Carrot Top was going to be a diplomat to the Ukraine. I'd be like, I can't, I can't do it. Gallagher is go. I'm listing all these old comedians. All right, I know what I'm doing to myself. Anyway, this is a bad take. It's a bad take because it's from people who fundamentally misunderstand what being a hero is. It's for people who everybody who gives that take, Peter Parker was one step away from being a school shooter. What they're actually saying is, if I got superpowers, I would absolutely murder everyone who disagreed with me. That is what that person is saying, because they see that aspect of themselves in Peter Parker. And Peter Parker is grumbling with a little thought balloon of like, I'd like to just teach these bullies a lesson, but I can't. In their minds, they're like, why can't you? You're supporting the Nazis if you're not punching them. Go start punching everyone you can. That's what they're saying, but that's not the lesson of the comic book. It's a deep, deep, deep misunderstanding of what Spider-Man is and what being a hero is. That you can't just solve your problems by throwing people across a room. That you need restraint. There's a major difference between Flash Thompson, prick bully that he is in high school, and say the Rhino who's charging through building. No, wait, I forgot. In current Marvel continuity, the Rhino doesn't hurt kids and is a hero. So I don't know. I don't know what to say. If you're going, wait, what? This recent Villains for Hire series, the Rhino's like, me, I'm not a bad guy. What? No, I do not know you. You are a bad guy. You're the Rhino. What are you doing? Anyway, big difference between Flash Thompson and Doctor Doom, I guess, or Flash Thompson and the Red Skull. So you might suspect that Flash Thompson is like the Red Skull because he's listening to Joe Rogan. But the difference is Flash Thompson plays football in a high school and would go on to later be in the military and be Venom. But putting that aside for a second, Flash Thompson is a high school football player, whereas just to make it clear, the Red Skull runs around shooting people, gassing people, and wears a giant Nazi symbol on his chest half the time, and talks about the Fuhrer, the master race, and Flash Thompson talks about scoring with cheerleaders. So there's a slight difference between the two. But if you if you muddle up that difference between the two, then yeah, you might think that Peter Parker is some kind of unhinged maniac. I will acknowledge, back in the '60s, a lot of the Ditko panels, all the dialogue was not the nuanced masterpieces of art that we get today. It was sometimes fairly clunky writing. They weren't. They wasn't as eloquent. I'm not going to make the joke, but you all know where I was going. Anyway, it was a little bit more less nuance to it, but still, you have to be pretty bizarre in the head to think that Peter Parker was some kind of ticking time bomb, unhinged incel lunatic. That's a stretch, to put it mildly. And the origin point is from people who really do not understand what being a hero is. Anyway, there you go. So, internet, that's not internet myth debunked, but internet annoying meme that people won't shut up about, put to rest. So, what do you think? What are some of these others out there? I know a common one is the Superman is one bad day away from killing everyone. And to me, that one is not that crazy of a take. I say that because we've seen Superman, you get him infected with some red kryptonite or somebody casts a spell on him. Hell, a fairly cheap rate, porn director got Superman to make a movie with Big Barda. And, so I can buy that one bad day could include somebody hypnotizing him or, tossing a piece of red kryptonite at him, and Superman, snaps and cracks the earth in two. That one, I'm on board with that. Would he do it because he's grumpy? He didn't get some from Lois, and he's just irritated. No, I don't. He's not going to do that. But this idea the idea that Superman could snap and go crazy, given external circumstances, I'll buy that one. That one I would get. That one's far less insane to me than Peter Parker is a school shooter, or Batman is complicit in all the crimes because he doesn't give all of his money to social programs. Anyway, all right. What crazy theories are there out there for you? Are you with me that we're just weeks away or months away from Reed Richards is a horrifying monster? It has to be. It could start here. Take it and run with it. It's that's how you get that Twitter attention, that dopamine. Go for it. Anyway, thanks for listening.